Humans have been fighting viruses long before our species had even evolved into its current form. For certain viral diseases, vaccines and antiviral drugs have allowed us to prevent infections from spreading widely, and have helped sick people recover. We have been able to eliminate one epidemic, smallpox, ridding the world of new cases. In this video we will discuss about the 10 deadliest viruses of all time. Welcome to our channel Data is Everything. If you have not subscribed us already, do it now. We bring daily amazing videos for you. Several viruses have jumped from animals to humans in recent decades and caused significant outbreaks, destroying thousands of lives. The viral strain that triggered West Africa's 2014-2016 Ebola outbreak killed up to 90% of the individuals it infects, making it the most deadly member of the Ebola family. But out there are other viruses that are just as lethal, and others that are even deadlier. Some viruses have lower fatality rates, like the novel coronavirus currently driving outbreaks across the globe, but still pose a significant public health threat as we do not yet have the means to combat them. We have made the list of 10 viruses based on the sheer number of individuals they have killed, and whether they pose a rising threat. 10. Marburg virus. In 1967, when small outbreaks occurred among laboratory workers in Germany who were exposed to infected monkeys imported from Uganda, researchers identified the Marburg virus. The Marburg virus is similar to Ebola in that hemorrhagic fever can be caused by both, indicating that infected individuals experience high fevers and bleeding in the body that can lead to shock, organ failure and death. The mortality rate in the first outbreak was 25%, but, according to the World Health Organization (WHO), it was more than 80% in the 1998-2000 outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo, as well as in the 2005 outbreak in Angola. 9. Ebola virus. In the Republic of Sudan and the Democratic Republic of Congo, the first recorded human Ebola outbreaks hit simultaneously in 1976. Ebola is transmitted by contact with blood or other body fluids, or tissue from infected people or animals. Elke Mulberger, an Ebola virus specialist and associate professor of microbiology at Boston University, told Live Science that the identified strains differ drastically in their deadliness. One strain, Ebola restin, won't make people sick either. But the fatality rate for the Bundibugyo strain is up to 50% and, according to WHO, it is up to 71% for the Sudan strain. The outbreak ongoing in West Africa began in early 2014 and, according to the WHO, is the largest and most complex outbreak of the disease to date. 8. Rabies. Rabies virus is a neurotropic virus that causes rabies in humans and animals. Rabies transmission can occur through the saliva of animals and less commonly through contact with human saliva. Rabies lyssavirus, like many rhabdoviruses, has an extremely wide host range. In the wild it has been found infecting many mammalian species, while in the laboratory it has been found that birds can be infected, as well as cell cultures from mammals, birds, reptiles and insects. Although rabies vaccines for pets, which were introduced in the 1920s, have helped make the disease exceedingly rare in the developed world, this condition remains a serious problem in India and parts of Africa. 7. HIV. In the modern world, the deadliest virus of all might be HIV. Dr. Amesh Adalja, an infectious disease doctor and spokesperson for the Infectious Disease Society of America, said, "It is still the one who is the greatest killer." Ever since the disease was first identified in the early 1980s, an estimated 32 million people have died from HIV. The infectious disease that takes the greatest toll on mankind right now is HIV. Strong antiviral medications have made it possible for individuals to survive with HIV for years. But many low and middle income countries, where 95% of new HIV infections occur, continue to be ravaged by the disease. Within the WHO African region, nearly 1 in 25 adults is HIV positive, accounting for more than 2/3 of the world's people living with HIV. 6. Smallpox. In 1980, the world was declared free of smallpox by the World Health Assembly. But before that, for thousands of years, humans had been fighting smallpox, and the disease killed about 1 in 3 of those it infected. It left deep, permanent scars and, often, blindness to survivors. In populations outside Europe, where individuals had little contact with the virus before visitors brought it to their regions, mortality rates were far higher. Historians claim, for instance, that 90% of the Americas' native people died from smallpox brought by European explorers. Smallpox infected 300 million people in the 20th century alone. It was something that had an enormous burden on the planet, not just death, but blindness as well. 5. Hantavirus. In 1993, when a healthy, young Navajo man and his fiancée living in the Four Corners area of the United States died within days of developing shortness of breath, Hantavirus pulmonary syndrome (HPS) first gained wide attention in the U.S. health authorities isolated hantavirus from a deer mouse living in the home of one of the infected individuals a few months later. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, more than 600 individuals in the U.S. have already contracted HPS, and 36% have died from the disease. Instead, people develop the disease from exposure to the droppings of infected mice. The infection is not transferred from one person to another. According to a 2010 paper in the journal Clinical Microbiology Reviews, a different hantavirus previously caused an outbreak in the early 1950s, during the Korean War. More than 3,000 troops became infected, and about 12% of them died. While the virus was new to Western medicine when it was discovered in the U.S., researchers later realized that a similar disease was identified in Navajo medical traditions, and related the disease to mice. 4. Influenza. Influenza, commonly known as the flu, is an infectious disease caused by an influenza virus. Symptoms can be mild to severe. The most common symptoms include high fever, runny nose, sore throat, muscle and joint pain, headache, coughing, and feeling tired. According to WHO, up to 500,000 people worldwide will die from the illness during a typical flu season. Yet rarely, a pandemic results in a faster spread of influenza and, sometimes, higher death rates when a new flu strain appears. The most deadly flu pandemic, sometimes referred to as the Spanish flu, began in 1918, sickening up to 40% of the world's population and killing an estimated 50 million people. 3. Dengue. The dengue virus first appeared in the Philippines and Thailand in the 1950s, and has since spread across the globe's tropical and subtropical regions. Up to 40% of the world's population now lives in places where dengue is endemic, and as the world warms, the disease is likely to spread more with the mosquitoes carrying it. According to the WHO, dengue sickens 50 to 100 million people a year. Although the dengue fever mortality rate is lower than some other viruses, the virus can cause an Ebola-like disease called dengue hemorrhagic fever, and if left untreated, that condition has a 20% mortality rate. The United States approved a vaccine for dengue in 2019. Food and Drug Administration according to the CDC, for use in children aged 9 to 16 living in areas where dengue is prevalent and with a confirmed history of virus infection. For those 9 to 45 years old, an approved vaccine is available in some countries, but once again, recipients must have contracted a confirmed case of dengue in the past. Many, who have not caught the virus before, if given the vaccine, could be put at risk of developing serious dengue. 2. Rotavirus. In order to protect children from rotavirus, the leading cause of serious diarrheal disease among babies and young children, 2 vaccines are now available. Via what researchers call the fecal-oral route, meaning that tiny particles of feces end up being consumed, the virus can spread rapidly. Although children rarely die from rotavirus infection in the developed world, the disease is a killer in the developing world, where therapies for rehydration are not readily available. The WHO estimates that in 2008, 453,000 children younger than 5 years of age died from rotavirus infection worldwide. But countries that have adopted the vaccine have reported sharp reductions in hospitalizations and deaths from rotavirus. 1. Coronavirus. Coronavirus disease COVID-19 is an infectious disease caused by severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2, SARS-CoV-2. It was first identified in December 2019 in Wuhan, Hubei, China, and has resulted in an ongoing pandemic. On the 5th of October, the WHO said that 1 in 10 people around the world, around 800 million, may have been infected with COVID-19. As of the 12th of October 2020, 37.5 million cases have been reported across 188 countries and territories with more than 1.07 million deaths. More than 26 million people have recovered. Common symptoms include fever, cough, fatigue, shortness of breath or breathing difficulties, and loss of smell and taste. While most people have mild symptoms, some people develop acute respiratory distress syndrome (ARDS), possibly precipitated by cytokine storm, multi-organ failure, septic shock, and blood clots. The incubation period may range from 1 to 14 days. The disease spreads most often when people are physically close. It spreads very easily and sustainably through the air, primarily via small droplets and sometimes in aerosols, as an infected person breathes, coughs, sneezes, talks, or sings. It is the deadliest virus till date. That was all for today's video. Thank you for watching. Like, share and subscribe to Data is Everything for such informative videos.